Hi, me, Olli, and my colleagues Ekaterina and Sofia are to present our research, which we entitled as From Space to People, Cultural Potential Reinventing in Rybinsk, Russia. First things first, what is Rybinsk? Rybinsk is a town name which can be translated to English as Fishinsk, because ryba is a fish. The town is located in the central macro region of Russia, in Yaroslavl region. Its population is less than 200. To get there from the capital of Russia, Moscow, you need to travel 265 kilometers or take 3-hour train to Yaroslavl and then a 2-hour bus to Rybinsk. The town was first mentioned in the 11th century. The town itself is located in Volga River, which was a convenient location for trading. The current city center style is historic pre-revolutionary merchant. Later we'll go into details how it came to that point. To maintain this style, in documents there are restrictions for exterior outlook of the buildings. The most strict zone is shown on the map. The question may arise, why did we take Rybinsk for our research? City center reconstruction in Rybinsk is an outstanding example of a local policy where top-down hierarchy was shifted by an initiative citizen in cooperation with the municipal administration and businesses. This makes the example of Rybinsk unique and interesting for research study. What did we do as research? We conducted a series of interviews with the main participants or drivers of recent urban projects, the local officials, the activists of the project, Museum of Living Old-Fashioned Signboards, members of Society for Protection of Historical and Cultural Monuments, and members of local communities. A total of 13 people have participated in our research. We haven't received a single rejection in all this time we worked, which is quite surprising. We also visited Rybinsk to collect field data and hold part of the interviews. The action starts when VOPIC and the activists come up with an idea to turn the city from ordinary-looking Russian province town to its pre-revolutionary outlook. In 2016, the activists present the project as a Museum of Living Old-Fashioned Signboards. The activist is a public figure, but what about VOPIC? VOPIC is a Russian abbreviation for All Russian Society for Protection of Historical and Cultural Monuments. Here we'll be talking about their original Rybinsk office. Next, the project proposed by the activists gets in general accepted. The first try was on the reconstruction of Rybinsk Central Square, called Red Square or Krasnaya Ploshchad. In 2018, design code of the buildings in Rybinsk is developed. First signboards appear. The local government and the activists negotiate with entrepreneurs, convincing them that spending money on changing their advertisement on the streets to old-fashioned looking signboards will pay off in the long run. Complex improvement of the urban environment is held. The concept of changing signboards to stylized one is put in bone and flesh, and the idea of the project gets extended to other streets. The next one, the activists and local government convince well-known all-Russian companies to join the stylized signboards flash mob, resulting in huge success on social media, and therefore the branding of Rybinsk is finally formed. The pandemic serves as a factor for domestic tourism development as well. In 2022, Rybinsk wins funding for a project of renovating boulevard streets and completes it the next year. New projects for complex environment improvements in different parts of the city are in progress. The funding that Rybinsk has won is held as a competition of the best project in historical settlements and small towns. This competition is a part of all-Russian program of comfortization of urban spaces, within federal and national projects. All in all, the main action, city transformation we are exploring, was held in 8 years. But who were the main drivers of the change? Let's look into details.
In Rybinsk, the changes involve compiling the ideas of various people, both from the city and from outside. Let's start with the external participants. This is a group of researchers from the Moscow University of Architecture. One day, a research group from Marhi arrived in Rybinsk. The results of its research marked the beginning of measures to preserve cultural heritage in the city. A group of researchers from Marhi interacted with the city department of the Russian Society for the Protection of Cultural Monuments and Heritage. Vopik, they also hatched an idea and entered into communication and discussion of forms of heritage preservation. The community of residents in Rybinsk is close-knit, and they were in touch with their local activists and entrepreneurs. Meanwhile, the activist, musician, and public figure conceived the idea of recreating the pre-revolutionary appearance of Rybinsk, and their communication with Vopik began in parallel. The activists will become the driving force behind the reconstruction of the historical appearance of the city in the future. An important figure in the process of changing the local government. The activists came up with the idea to the city administration, local government, which at the time was thinking about reconstruction the central Red Square, Krasnaya Ploshchad. The open position of the local government, which was in close communication with local communities, played a role in the processes of all urban transformations. A cycle of work with the appearance of the city was launched. Local communities involved in the city agenda and not indifferent to history were connected. The contribution of each of them and their love for the city and history combined to create the Rybinsk effect, a unique experience of the reconstruction of the center that made a buzz throughout the country. So, in Rybinsk, people who love their city and reverently relate to its history came together in one place. The result of all this was the reconstruction of historical appearance of the pre-revolutionary city. The work with heritage in Rybinsk initially assumed and was aimed at attracting attention to the city. Such a popularization goal was pursued by both the creative activists and the local government, which sought to increase economic well-being. The increase in awareness and the growth of the tourist flow was supposed to bring the city's economy to a new level. The object we are discussing is urban heritage. What is heritage in general? We researched a number of works and realized that the very concept of heritage is performative. It can be a type of use, a product, a process, or even a condition. We can say for sure that heritage always reverts to the past, but is aimed at creation and development in the present. We also note the relative and participatory nature of the heritage. An integral feature of heritage is authenticity. It means that heritage evokes a sense of authenticity among the perceiving subjects. The desire to experience authenticity has become an engine of mass global tourism and has given rise to new tools for urban development. Now, a great role in the heritage is played by so-called producers, who with the help of their experience and knowledge can transmit the heritage to the mass public and manage authenticity. As German Lube noted, when we preserve heritage, we support continuity of urban development. Also, the point of preserving heritage is to maintain its effectiveness and vitality in the present. UNESCO places heritage protection as a way of sustainable development. At the same time, it is important that the status of a public good makes heritage a field for participation. In the context of Russia, there are not many opportunities to develop heritage yet. This is due to complex property relationships. That is why it is so important to study heritage issues in Russia.
The heritage in Rybinsk is wide and quite varied. The main point is that they try to make it durable and continuous from the past to the future. To begin with, the Orthodox Cathedral, which was in the exact place since the 18th century, but the current version was existed since the middle of the 19th century. Here you can enjoy the view of the cathedral nowadays. The Volga River embankment was widely used for trading purposes, but obviously lacked in infrastructure. Today the embankment is used for summer cruise ships, and the upper part is adapted for promenades. The fire observation tower was founded in 1825, however, in 1911 it was lost in the fire, and the resistance version was built in the beginning of the 20th century. Nowadays, the tower is one of the Rybinsk landmark. From the tower, the whole town can be observed. The central town square, called Red Square, used to be the place where a flow of life was bubbling up. Here used to stand the statue of Alexander II. After revolution, it was obviously exterminated and replaced with classical for all Russian cities statue of Lenin. Recently, the central square was undergone the renovation process, which was the start of the city outlook reconstruction. Next, we will discuss the specific projects. The first important project is the Museum of Living Old-Fashioned Signboards in the Open Air, which covered the Red Square and central streets. The project involved an activist and artists, local government and advertising agencies. To give authenticity on the natural materials and paints are used in the manufacture. Despite the attraction of federal subsidies for repairs, the idea was implemented with the help of the city budget and the entrepreneurs' funding. The project is a co-governance experience, as the local government intercepted the grassroots initiative and adopted special regulations so that the artistic idea became the core of the urban planning in Rybinsk. The second project is the improvement of the embankment and the pedestrian street for the federal competition. In order to receive subsidies, planning sessions with the local community and experts were held in Rybinsk. In the opinion of our informants, the project provoked a great response, a discussion in Rybinsk, which is atypical for Russia, whereas the citizens mostly do not participate even in local policies. Thus, a community gathers around urban projects in Rybinsk. Next, we will briefly describe the role of participants in heritage preservation. The local government is certainly an important actor. The main activity of it is to pursue an effective policy and attract federal funds. To do this, the local government cooperates with active citizens. WOPIC pursues the goal of preserving the existing heritage and return the lost one. Their actions consist in the grassroots activities of each of the participants of the organization for the protection of heritage sites. They strive to restore the authenticity of the historical appearance to the smallest detail. All of these changes would be impossible without the participation of the locals. The activist was one of the main drivers of the process. He also noted the importance of local communities. Many other active citizens of Rybinsk also insisted on preservation of the historical functions and outlook. So, in the end, why is Rybinsk experience in Russia is so important? It shows that there is a great demand in Russia for the development of heritage. Rybinsk demonstrates amazing results. The urban community as a whole is united by a common goal: to give value to the city's part past and make it a resource for contemporary development. We see that heritage in Rybinsk is a process in which people cooperate and benefit because through participation and attractiveness of the city increases and heritage is commercialized. It is crucial that the Rybinsk case is perfectly described in terms of international experience, but for Russia it is new and advanced. So we thank you and draw your attention to our previous research on the Rybinsk case in Russian. Good luck!